So, woo, okay. So yes, my presentation, there you have it. Yeah, I'm the CEO, Senior Financial Advisor at Portfolio Advisors. Just a little bit about me. Oh, is this working? Nope, maybe not. Okay, just a little bit about me. I like to build rapport with the audience, so just show cute pictures of my kids and we're good. So husband, 2 kids. Oh, dog's looking a little sideways there. That is not how that showed up on my laptop, but Maddie is technically our first child. Don't tell my son that. So, just like what she said, I've been in the industry for a little over 20 years. I actually started off with Portfolio Advisors as a broke college student who needed a job, and then fast forward to becoming the owner about a few years, 20 years later. So we're a local homegrown, thank you. We're a local homegrown firm, fee-only fiduciary, so we do holistic financial planning for folks who are getting ready to retire, who are already retired, and then in some cases the kids and grandkids of our original clients, which is really cool. I just wanted to share a little bit of a personal story. I think it was about 2011, 2012, I had just finished my CFP designation, finished all my licenses and designations, which was really great to have that behind me, and was kind of on a trajectory for a really awesome career. And then shortly after, probably the summer about 2012, I had found out that my parents were very ill-prepared for retirement and were about to lose everything. So that was a big wake-up call for me. So the reason I share that is this is personal to me. What I do is very, very personal to me because if I did not have the educational background that I had not already started working with clients, preparing them for retirement, working through those technical skills and just working with people in real life scenarios, I don't really know where my parents and I would be, today. So I had the opportunity to really, really help them out. And 3 years later, we were on the course for a good path going forward. So I just wanted to share that, and I think if I have in my profession the ability to add value to people's lives and to make sure to help people prevent them from going through what we went through, I think I've done some service in the world. So thank you. So what we're going to cover today, I've got a lot of slides, so we'll see how much we get through. But I want to talk a little bit about why financial planning matters. I want to talk about some key financial concepts. So some of the things that I talk to clients about in terms of key pieces of their financial plan. So not just about making money, but about all the other stuff that's really important to making money. We're going to talk a little bit about aligning money with values, which I think is really important. I've got some tips and tricks and things for small business owners to look out for. We're going to talk about transformative concepts, which is sort of what I call financial planning 2.0. And then throughout the presentation, there are going to be key action steps that you can take, whether it's tomorrow or maybe tonight when you're up at midnight trying to process everything today. There'll be some key action steps and things that you can do right away to help build your financial plan and build financial success. And I just want to make sure I keep it on time. Okay, there we go. So why financial planning matters, especially for women. Women, we live longer. We live longer. That's just how the world works right now. I think we're going to live to 150. So just kidding. No, we live longer. We live longer. So we're often the ones who are taking career breaks. I know I took a little bit of a break when I had my 2 kids, a little tiny break. We're often the ones stepping away for caregiving. During COVID, many women stepped away from the work world so they could take care of their kids at home. So very common for us to take breaks. Lower lifetime earnings. The pay gap is still a thing. So we've got to figure out how to make the most of the dollars that we make and how to make them work for us. And then wealth transition. So because we live longer, we're often the ones inheriting a lot of wealth. Woohoo! That is a reality that we have to face. So we need to be smart with our money so that when we do inherit those dollars, we know what to do with them. So financial independence. So I think if I asked the room who wants to be financially independent, I think everybody would raise their hand. So, I mean, yeah, it kind of makes sense. So paths to financial independence. knowing what you have, your assets, your debt, insurance policies, having access to passwords, important contacts, understanding your cash flow, monthly expenses. These are all key building blocks to building financial independence. So no more hiding behind under the covers to the money conversation. These are the things you have to be aware of to build financial independence. It's not about perfection. I do this 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, so I kind of know a little bit more than maybe the average person. I don't expect my clients coming in the door to know everything. We want to meet people where they're at. So our job is to educate them. Your job as someone stepping into their financial world, stepping into their financial power, just learn and get better day after day. Build your knowledge, build your education. Look at it from the aspect of educating yourself. That's really the key when it comes to financial planning and building success there. Let's see here. I forgot to say at the very beginning, my disclosure slide was not there, so my colleagues are going to kill me afterwards, that what I'm about to share is not financial advice specific to your situation. I think I'm technically the chief compliance officer in the office too, right? So, sorry, I get carried away with this stuff. So what I'm about to share now going forward is not construed as personal financial advice. Definitely seek counsel, attorneys, accountants. I'm not an accountant, I'm not an attorney. So that's my disclosure for today. So, all right. So let's talk about investing. Let's talk about what, actually I want to ask the audience. So if somebody's brave enough to raise their hand, and I'm going to ask the question, can anybody define in the audience what a stock is? Anybody want to try? AJ, you don't count.
It is a small, tiny portion of a company that you can buy and sell.
Perfect. Thank you. Give this lady a book. Thank you. What was that? She said small ownership in a company. So when you buy a stock on the stock market, let's start with the fundamentals. When you buy a stock in the stock market, you're buying ownership in a company. So if you buy a share of Google, SpaceX is going public next week. That's a fun one. You're buying a teeny tiny piece of ownership in the company. Can anybody in the audience tell me what a bond is? What's a bond? I'm so glad I'm asking these questions. Okay, the bank people, you can't. That's cheating. Anybody?
Well, you have different series of bonds. You have the bank bond that you can purchase, and it will mature in 10 years or 25 years.
Mm-hmm.
And then you have the bonds that you can buy that from the U.S. Treasury.
Mm-hmm.
And how to define it,
Mm-hmm.
I don't know the definition, but I know what they are.
I'm going to give you a book because that was pretty good. Thank you. So I'm going to elaborate on that definition because this is really important. So a bond, you're the bank. You're the bank. So you are lending. So let's take Google, for example. If you buy a Google bond, right, you're the bank. You're lending them your money for a period of time so they can invest it and grow their company and all these things. And they're going to pay you back a certain amount of interest for making that investment, right? So a company like Google, pretty stable. They're not going anywhere anytime soon. Their interest rate's going to be a little bit lower. But if you buy, mom and pop publicly traded company down the street that may be kind of new, up and coming, their financials are kind of meh, their interest rate may be a little bit higher because you're taking on a little bit more risk. So it's important to understand different levels of risk with bonds as well. So thank you for the audience participation. So when we talk about investing, especially in the context of what we do, we're talking about stocks and bonds. We're talking about portfolios made up of thousands of different companies, whether they're stocks or bonds, globally diversified, low-cost investing. We're kind of pretty plain vanilla when it comes to investing. The reason we believe that is there's a lot of research that shows that you can't time the market, you can't pick hot stocks on a consistent basis. It's really hard to beat the collective knowledge of the trillions of dollars that are traded on the markets every day. So we like to say, let's put the odds in your favor. Let's invest in low cost, globally diversified investments, and let's build your financial plan around that, because what the market does, you can't really control it. But the other aspects of your financial plan, which I'm going to get into here in just a little bit, are things that you do have a lot of control over. So I just want to make that distinction about investing. Investing can also be buying properties, buying other income generating assets, your own business, investing in your own business, those types of things. What I want to make sure that I'm not talking about is gambling. Hot tips, you go to a cocktail party. My husband was at a sandwich store in Turlock for work. This is so funny that this is happening today. He was at a sandwich store and some random person was giving him stock advice. And he's like, I gotta go home and tell my wife this. So, really, really fun. I wish I could share that story. I'll share that story later, but yeah, I just wanted to share. So action step number 1 when it comes to investing, go home and check your stock bond allocation. So I'm gonna be a magic fairy and grant everybody here a fake $1 million. Okay, woo, great, she's the money lady, I like her. That portfolio, I'm gonna give you some math here. That portfolio, $500,000 of it is invested in stocks, $500,000 is invested in bonds. That's a 50-50 portfolio. I think everybody's following the math, okay? So when you go home and you check your accounts and see what your investments are, plug it in an Excel spreadsheet. ChatGPT can kind of help you do the work too. Figure out what that allocation is, that mix between stocks and bonds. So the higher level of stocks you have, the more risky your portfolio is. The lower level of stocks you have can be less risky. There's a lot of maybe nuances there that I'm not maybe particularly addressing, but I think that's a good takeaway from today in terms of figuring out what that overall allocation looks like, just to give you some sense of level of risk in your portfolio. So, retirement planning is different for women. So retirement planning, I'm going to talk about retirement planning, estate planning, insurance, all the fun things I really enjoy talking about as it complements investing. So retirement looks a lot different for women. We live longer, like I mentioned. Retirement planning is not just about the investment assets. It's about your healthcare costs, key decisions around the types of accounts that you're investing in. On the far right of the screen, you're going to see something called Learn About Roths and Traditional Accounts. You got to understand your different account types. That's a key part of retirement planning. Planning for career interruptions, that's a key part of financial planning as well. And then Social Security benefits, which I'm going to talk about a little bit later. So my next action step is learn the types of accounts you have. Do you have a 401k? Is your 401k invested in pre-tax money, Roth money, something called after-tax contributions? How much is your company matching? Your other investment accounts, you have a traditional IRA, a Roth IRA, do you have a brokerage account? We're going to talk about kind of the different bucket strategies here in just a moment, but go home and learn about what type of accounts you have. Emergency funds. So this is something that I think a lot of people overlook as a key foundational piece of building a financial plan. So having an emergency fund to cover about 3 to 6 months of your essential expenses is a good place to start. I will say that this is a personal choice in terms of how much money you feel is enough to be sort of a safety net for you. Heaven forbid you lost your job, had significant health issues, had to step away, so on and so forth. So whatever, kind of listing out what your expenses are, multiplying by that by about 3 to 6 months, that's a good goal to shoot for in terms of how much to have in cash savings. This can be a key piece in terms of preventing you from getting into a lot of debt. I heard a statistic somewhere that it only takes about $500 of credit card debt to kind of go down the slippery slope of a significant amount of debt overall. So this can really help prevent some stress and anxiety going down the road and prevent you from getting into a lot of debt. So this is a key piece. I even talked about this with clients who are already retired, making sure they still have an emergency reserve of some kind. So another action step, if you haven't started an emergency fund, you're going to go home today and start one. Start by saving $10, $25 a month. Start somewhere. Small is better than nothing. If you already have a savings account, let's take advantage of a high yield savings account. Interest rates are pretty favorable right now, about 3 to 4% interest on just, high yield money market savings. Take advantage of that. Debt should be strategic, so there are things called good debt and bad debt. Good debt are mortgages, properties, business loans, maybe even your student loans, depending on how much you have and if you can manage the cash flow. Bad debt, consumer debt, credit card debt, those types of things. So this was a really key aspect in my personal story that I mentioned earlier, was creating a laundry list of all the different pieces of debt that my parents had and figuring out, seeing it all on one page and figuring out how to tackle it one by one. What should I tackle first? What should I tackle next? Should I tackle the highest interest rate ones first? Should I tackle the ones with the largest balances? Should I kind of do a hodgepodge of things? It is very personalized, but getting this all on one page can be really really helpful for getting out of debt. Insurance is a key piece. So not my favorite topic to talk about. No offense to any insurance agents in the audience, but I do have insurance. Life insurance is a key piece, especially if there are people who depend on your income. If you own your business, having some key, person's life insurance on your own life as well as any owners is really important to protect the viability of your business. Heaven forbid something happens to you. Looking at things like health insurance, disability insurance, even long-term care. They don't make those policies like they used to, but can still be considered something to look at depending on family health history and those types of things. So another action step I have is create that laundry list of the different insurance policies that you have and start gathering that information. That can be really helpful. One of the common things we see with folks coming in the office is that if they're working, maybe they're working for an employer, maybe they don't have their own business, but they're paying for all these different types of insurance policies that they have no idea, where their money is going. Well, it's like, well, you have no kids, why, maybe why do you have a life insurance policy? Those types of things. So it really can help account for every dollar by doing that. Negotiation. So I wanted to talk a little bit about salary, your paycheck, if you do work for someone or not, bonuses and things like that. This is something that I think a lot of people overlook in terms of making sure they're paying themselves a fair wage, or getting paid a fair wage, and understanding where their dollars go. On the far right there, I talk about retirement contributions, Social Security benefits, bonuses, so on and so forth. You can see on your pay stub where your money is going, and I think it's a good idea to study your paycheck and understand what's happening there. Social Security, I don't know if they mail statements anymore. We're kind of still, it's hit or miss. Okay, yeah. If you haven't already, my action step here is set up your SSA.gov login, check your earnings record, and make sure that that's accurate. Social Security is going to leave you on the hook for whether or not that's accurate. So if it's underreporting, I think you have about 12 months or something like that, AJ? I think it was about 12 months or so to correct your earnings record. So it's something you're going to want to stay on top of, especially for folks who are getting ready to retire. You have some key decisions to make around Social Security, when to file, integrating maybe a spousal benefit of some kind. So there's some key aspects that start with your paycheck that lead into retirement, like Social Security, to stay on top of. So go set up that is not a plug for Social Security, but please go set up your login. Estate planning, so I'll be kind of brief here. So I have so many stories that I do not have enough time to share today about why it's important to create an estate plan. Think of it this way. You are helping your family, your loved ones, prevent a lot of headache by having an estate plan. A trust, a will, healthcare directive, power of attorney, these are important things. I will say it is an investment, depending on which attorney you go to, or if you do it online, you're going to maybe want to save up for this one. But I think to prevent your estate from going into probate, state of California, if there's any attorneys in the crowd, state of California, I think probate starts at $10,000. So would you rather have your family pay $1,000 to $3,000 to create an estate plan and prevent headaches, or at minimum start to pay the state $10,000 because your estate is in probate? So I know I didn't get my estate plan done until I had my first child, kind of a triggering point in my life. If you want stories, feel free to visit me at the booth today. I can tell you lots of stories. So get your estate plan done. Let's talk about values a little bit. Money is just a tool. I think in my 40 years on this earth, I think this is something that I've realized. It's not about creating the biggest bank account. It's about what you do with that bank account. So my mother-in-law and mom spoil my kids with stuff all the time. Is there any grandparents in the crowd? You get it. But what my husband and I do is anytime they get birthday money, we put it in their college account, or we make a point to save money for an annual family trip that we get to have an experience together. That's the value that my money is tied to. So I think it's important to think about these things. What are the trade-offs that you're making by spending on X versus Y? What are you potentially sacrificing? Are you sacrificing today for tomorrow, or the other way around? Are you maybe not saving enough? Are you kind of living for today, which I totally get. But think about what that dollar in your pocket does for you, and what it does for your family, and what's important to you. What's important to you? One of the things that's really important to us is we like to give back to the community. That makes us happy. Doing the right things with your money makes you happy. You get those, endorphins? Get those endorphin rushes. So this is an important thing to think about too as you build your financial plan. Confidence comes with engagement, not expertise. Like I said, it's about educating yourselves, asking the right questions, going into it with curiosity, and knowing that you don't know everything. I know I don't know everything. But again, engagement, not complete delegation of your finances, but maybe some delegation might be needed. So I'm obviously biased. I do this for a living. I want to be your financial planner. No, but if you already have one, fantastic. That makes my heart sore. But I'll give the plug for the CPAs and attorneys. Build a team around you, right? There are people who do this 24/7 that can look out for your best interests. Build that professional team, and that will go a really long way. I want to just briefly talk about this slide. I have no idea how much more time I have left. A couple minutes? Oh, thank you. Perfect. This slide is Investing Financial Planning 2.0. So there's two key things I want to talk about here. If you take this slide and you basically have ChatGPT try to define some of this for you, you'll kind of be learning next level stuff here. But there's two things I want to talk about. Inflation. So if you have cash sitting in the bank and it's not earning anything, you are losing money. Well, how can I be losing money? Inflation. We're going through it right now. Inflation is the highest it's been in years. We're losing money. Make sure your cash is invested and working for you in some way, whether it's in more safe investment or something more aggressive. Tax diversification. So I could talk all day about this subject because I love talking about tax planning. The way that people build wealth long term is a bucket strategy. This is one thing that you can implement starting today. There are 3 different buckets that your money exists in. A pre-tax bucket, like your 401k, IRA, so on and so forth. A tax-free bucket, like a Roth IRA, grows tax-free for you, compounded forever, hopefully. And then something called an after-tax bucket. So think about like your savings account at the bank, but also think about like a brokerage account where it's not necessarily meant for retirement, but maybe for short-term or intermediate goals, and can be invested in stocks and bonds and things like that. That is building tax diversification so that when you retire, you have these different buckets to pull from. Your accountant and your financial planner figure out, okay, if I'm in the lowest tax bracket when I retire because my income has gone away, what accounts do I pull out from, and how do I pay the least amount of taxes? Building those 3 different buckets can help you do that. So if you'd like to learn more, we're here. So a couple key things I want to talk about for small business owners, because I have like a whole other presentation in here just on this. Business owners, I'm going to switch gears here. Business owners, you need to know what your margins are. This is something I learned in my small business journey. I needed to know what is a reasonable profit margin for the type of business that I have. I don't care if you're selling cupcakes. I don't care if you have a consulting firm. I don't care what it is that your small business, you need to understand your margins, and you need to understand your margins in your industry so that you have a goal to shoot for. So I just wanted to mention that. Cash flow, tax planning year round. So whether it's personal or for small businesses, tax planning is key. I tend to have a tax planning meeting in the latter half of every year with my accountant to talk about how much taxes I'm going to pay. We all have to pay them, but what can I do to pay less taxes? Or what can I be doing to strategize around expenses and things like that? So this is key really for anybody, but especially for business owners. And then the last thing I wanted to mention, on the far right there, you're going to see different options for retirement accounts for business owners. If you are a solo business owner or you and your spouse own that business, one of the most underutilized investment accounts is a solo 401k, or also known as an I-401k. You can save a significant amount of taxes by utilizing this. It's very similar to an employer's 401k, but if you're a solopreneur, the amount that you can save pre-tax significantly increases. So if, again, another action step, go learn about a solo 401k if you own your own business. If you have employees, you're going to need to look at other options like a SEP IRA, simple IRA, even a traditional 401k. There can be a lot of cost-effective solutions to help you save there. So with that said, I think that, like I said, I had a whole nother presentation here. Please connect with us. Thank you so much for having us. There's information in your goodie bags, more about us. Sign up for our newsletter, all the fun things. We're on LinkedIn like crazy, Instagram, all of it. Please follow us. I will be here all day. Happy to answer your questions. Thank you so much.